Let it play for a second.
Oh, guys, it's Friday. End of the week, thank God. It's been a long and crazy week, and if you're on ABC, which really is the acronym for Always Be Cursing Trump, it just seems to be the Jimmy Kimmel and ABC seem to be like reeling right now after a week of all of this nonsense. What do you mean Jimmy Kimmel can't make a joke? What do you mean that it was so egregious? What do you mean? Where's free speech? Fascinating though how the left, when someone finally calls them out on their bullshit, they freak out when punishment is laid down, when you are accountable for your words. You can't hide behind all of a sudden, oh, this is free speech. I could do whatever I want. But yet you can't on the other side. It's an amazing thing. What an amazing Friday. Welcome back, everybody, to the Rant Network. My name is David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell. We are the Rant Network every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. We broadcast this thing called the Rant Network, where we bring you our opinions, our angles, our love for what's going on out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we are completely unedited, uncensored, unfiltered, and we are so unapologetic. It's actually not even funny. In the past, I would have said we're starting, we have these conversations that are really generally in hushed tones, but recently starting to come out more and more, including this topic. So sit back, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through the Friday rant. Stuart, Roseanne Barr got fired by the same ABC network because she made a comment that was viewed as racist. It wasn't. I mean, I don't think that Usain Bolt ran faster than ABC firing Roseanne Barr at the time. And her co-stars all wanted to wipe their hands of her. No one wanted to be, near her because she was like toxic waste. But along comes Jimmy Kimmel, who makes an egregious comment, crosses definitely an ethical line, gets fired, and suddenly it's not acceptable. Stuart, I don't know about you, but I'm good with the move. You?
I am so happy we brought this topic up. Let's start here. David, you're sitting next to Billy Bob, who's an admitted murderer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to change chairs? Or do you have to stay in the chair is more like the question? Or do you think maybe it's prudent that you find another seat? Because Cannibal Lecter is going to eat you for lunch. Well, you don't have to sit next to Cannibal Lecter or Billy Bob the murderer. And if you work for my company, David, and you decide to say death to Israel, death to Jews, I don't have to employ you. And you don't have a right to be employed by me. Now, why am I using such extreme examples? Because Jimmy Kimmel works for ABC Network and affiliates like Nexstar decide to go and say, we will no longer broadcast this show because we really don't like what he's saying. There's no free speech. That's a right for me not to have to broadcast your nonsense. If you want to walk around and say, death to Israel, does that mean I have the right to punch you in the face? The answer is no, though I may feel that way, but the answer is no. Now, if the guy that's running around death to Israel spits in your face, well, that's considered battery, and that guy needs to go to jail. There's certain key notes in law, and I'm not a lawyer giving legal advice, that the press and the left-wing media seem to have forgotten. You can't yell fire in a movie theater and not expect to get arrested, which is exactly what Jimmy Kimmel has done. He has made really horrible statements about a very tender topic. And the networks that broadcast ABC around the United States said, we will not allow this anymore. So Jimmy Kimmel has been taken off the air indefinitely because of his remarks about killing conservatives, right? Now, I could say Tlaib the whole friggin', crazy squad who has been calling them fascists. Okay. Like Kimmel does as well. What is a fascist, David Solomon? Can you tell me what a fascist is?
My
Like
God.
definition?
Not what? It's a fascist is an extreme right-wing individual. Where are you going with this?
No, that's not what a fascist is. In fact, a fascist is a person who believes to support fascism as far right authoritarianism, unilateralism, political ideology. The term is progressively used for the certain group called the Third Reich. In fact, that's where the word fascist has most commonly been denounced and used for. And fascism is the plurality of that word. Okay. Why am I bringing this up? Because the far right isn't what necessarily you could describe fascism. In fact, fascism is more like the far left. If you don't believe what I believe, you must be killed. If you don't say what I say, you must be stricken from the record. If you don't do as I do and get in line, you will be taken out. So I think fascism best describes the Democrats, which is what we've ranted about over the last several years. And I want to be honest with you, David. Remember we said the Democrats like to project. Donald Trump is a Russian collusion. He's involved. Really, we know Hillary Clinton was. It seems that they constantly want to telegraph their own actions onto their competitor, right? So is Charlie Kirk a saint? Probably not. Did he say some things that were wrong? Probably. Did people have the right to say nasty things? I don't like you. Yes. But where you start going off the deep end is, I don't have to broadcast your nonsense. You don't have the right to force me to put you on the air. You don't have to force me to employ you because you're crazy. And I don't like the way you talk, walk, and say things. I have the right not to have you work here any longer and represent my company. Now, David, why am I talking about all these things like in a bubble? Because Charlie Kirk was shot and rounds were fired. Catch this fascist. David, you're a Jew. When I say fascism, what comes to mind?
Stuart, it's the worst of the worst for us.
Okay. But it's the worst of the worst, period. It's extreme authoritarianism, military and violence that prevents populace to be what it wants to be. I'm sorry. Fascism, socialism, communism. I'm sorry. The 5 isms. Marx wrote a good book, 5 isms. I mean, it's a good book. It tells you what it is. You have people moving to the United States. You have those immigrants that are coming here that the Democrats want to protect, are coming out of fascist, communist, socialist countries. You're in Canada, David. It's a socialist country. How's your health care?
Stuart, I'm trying to figure out the relevance and where you're going with this. What does that do with Jimmy Kimmel?
I'm trying to draw the relevance that when you go up and say something, there's consequences. And the consequences are on both sides. When you want something and you want to say it as a political puppet and want to get paid $11 million to do so, to $25 million, and I don't want to pay you to do it anymore, that is not freedom of speech.
Wow.
Free speech, fair speech, hate speech, there's definitions. The left that is communistic, socialistic, fascist in nature wants you to believe otherwise, as well as, which I'm going to tell you, which our next few rants are going to probably lean into, how the left is now trying to take Antifa and say they are angels.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what you did today, because we're here to talk about Jimmy Kimmel, and in your
Well, it
typical
isn't about Jimmy
fashion, you
Kimmel.
just brought
Right.
in. I'm like,
It's about Jimmy Kimmel. It's about
a
Jimmy Kimmel.
you
It's
made
about the left trying to support him.
no,
Free
look,
speech,
no.
fair
Here's where I think
censorship, fascism. I mean, this is
Okay.
what they're
All right,
calling people.
all right. I heard you. Let me try to make this really simple.
Mm.
You love to bring in the Democrats. Everything's the Democrats' fault. Let's slow down for just a second, because I really could care less about the Democrats. I could care less about what they have to say, because they're just political animals and they just want to get voted in. I don't really care. You know what's fascinating to me is to hear how Hollywood reacts. Because this is one of them. And again, it's a question of, well, what? A comedian can't make a joke? Well, I want to ask you a question. Why are there guidelines in terms of what a joke is? Where's, if I look at Mel Brooks in the 1970s and I brought him to today, you would tell me that's bad taste and Mel Brooks should be fired. Okay? But when Jimmy Kimmel makes the following statement, we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. That's not a joke. He said it was a joke. It wasn't a joke. And I'm really sickened by the fact that everybody's standing behind a guy who, instead of taking the high road and talking about the fact that Erica Kirk is a widow, their two children are now fatherless. What is that? No, let's go talk about MAGA. What is, once again, Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, they have such freaking Trump derangement syndrome. It's not even funny that for close to 10 years, they have alienated 50%, more than 50% of their viewers, because they decided that the only thing that's funny is ripping Trump. What people don't realize is that there's this lack of faith in the news, people are going to these places, and other comedy areas to get their news. And if Kimmel says it and Colbert say it and Myers says it, it's got to be fact. People, unfortunately, don't have the common sense to believe that they're trying to be funny. But this isn't funny.
Nope.
And ABC didn't make the decision. A Texas-based TV station decided this is now crossing the line. Kimmel's crossed the line way too many times.
Yep.
And they said, we are no longer going to broadcast. And ABC took its sweet time to say, if we're going to get this kind of reaction, maybe we shouldn't be broadcasting Kimmel. Guys, the message is simple. You have no fucking decency. All you've done right now is berate the right incessantly. Stuart, you use the word fascist. There are words like dictator, authoritarian, all these types of things that are being said. And they have been hiding themselves behind this, this belief that they are protected by the Constitution. It's free speech. I can be funny. I can be funny. No. Stuart, come on. Their attitude is, I can be funny and say whatever I want. I am covered by free speech. And you can't. You are accountable for your words. And if Roseanne Barr could get fired in the nanosecond that she did, so can Kimmel. And to sit there today and say, wow, free speech is under attack. Now, I know Donald Trump gets on Air Force One, takes a victory lap, threatens other broadcasters to comply and stop being so mean to him. 97% of America trusts him. There's a lot of nonsense that's coming out of the Trump camp as usual. But what he should have said was, we have to stop being biased. We have to stop with this. You can't hide yourself behind this BS and believe that you could say and do whatever you want. If words matter, Stuart, and this is something that I'm shocked you didn't bring up. The left keeps telling you that words matter. Words hurt. Words are painful. People don't want to be demeaned, except if you're a conservative, except if you're on the right. Stuart, today, university campuses are still denying conservatives from going onto campus to speak.
Yep. And I think that's going to be a very quick change.
Oh, well, but they're still protesting that conservatives should be banned from coming to campuses. Denial of free speech. You have left-wing morons who are posting online, and we talked about this, the other day on Monday, that they're posting online, and they say, "I have a right to tell you that conservatives should be killed. Great that Charlie Kirk is dead," and they're saying, "Why can't I keep my job?" You can't play both sides.
Correct.
The rules have to apply on both ends, and Jimmy Kimmel got the butt end of this one. I don't want to talk about the fact that Kimmel's ratings sucked and he cost ABC a ton of money, just like Colbert did. It's not the reason he got fired, although if it is, great. Like, that's the ABC's, economic decision. But the man crossed the line. And again and again and again, it's okay for the left to say whatever they want because it's free speech. But the moment one of them crosses the line, they cry and whine.
David, but you just convoluted a statement. I need to give it clarity because you wanted to say something. I think you screwed it up. David, what you want to say is you have the right to say, "I'm happy Charlie Kirk's dead," but that doesn't mean you have the right to stay employed and represent a company. You see, there's two things here.
It's more
you
than
have the right.
No. You see, if you would
free
permit
speech,
me, no. Let me finish.
You could say I don't like Charlie Kirk, but you can't go and say that I have to employ you when you say.
No, it goes further than that. I'm going one step further. Okay? It's not about employment. It's about freaking decency. It's about being, you talk about you hear again and again, you see these Senate hearings, you see all of these things. Kash Patel said it perfectly. You're trying to get your 10-second soundbite to post on social media. The left has no desire for anything other than chaos and other than to destroy conservatives. They're on that mission. And this is example. I'm sorry to Christy Brinkley and Henry Winkler and all the rest of the artists who are pissed off today because they think that their free speech is at risk. Your free speech was always at risk. Always at risk when you cross the line that you put in.
Well, hang on a second. But that's free speech. No. David, you're confusing the issue.
I am not confusing. If you would have listened to what I just said, because you tend to jump on me here.
No, I don't. I'm trying to say that you're saying something and it's not coming out right. Henry Winkler has a right to say, "I don't like David Solomon because he's got a goatee." That's great. But let me tell you something. David Solomon doesn't have to continue to employ Henry Winkler because he said that. Henry Winkler has no right to be employed. What are they upset about? They're upset about the Terminator.
Once again, let me get the point across without you deciding what my words are. My words are not about employment. You said that. That was your statement. My statement is the left put rules down. The left they decided that these are the rules. That if Roseanne Barr crosses this line or any other performer crosses this line, you're fired. They said it. And the moment one of them crosses the line, no, free speech. That's what I'm talking about. There is a double standard, and you've said it too many times, rules for me and not for thee. The left wants it their way. They get to move the pawns wherever they want. They get to change the rules whenever they want. You and I can't. You and I will get the double standard every single time. If this was a right-wing conservative standing there and making a comment that Kamala Harris or something along the lines, right? If someone would have gone up on stage and talked about Nancy Pelosi's husband the way that Kimmel did, that the guy who went out and struck Pelosi's husband was a crazy loony lefty, they would have gone nuts. They would have fired everybody. But here it doesn't work that way.
David, I got a funny one for you. David, watch this. Jimmy Kimmel, catch this.
Oh, that's hilarious. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, as Stuart shows his high degree of maturity, we want to finish this week. We're done.